Deadlights God.
Welcome to the Deadlights God Pass podcast. Oops. I'm your host, Sam.
And I'm your other host, Leslie, and we're bringing you another godly week.
Another godly week. We're receiving messages from beyond. You have to review this movie.
The movie?
God told me to.
Man, I wish God talked to me.
I mean, depending on what he says.
Actually, no.
Depending on what he says, maybe. What if he's like got a really annoying voice?
I'm imagining Tammy from Bob's Burgers.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny Slater.
Mm-hmm.
I would love her. Actually, I wouldn't care.
Jenny told me to.
Jenny told me to.
So what did we just watch? Did we just watch Jenny Told Me To?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
We watched God Told Me To from 1976, written and directed by Larry Cohen. A New York detective investigates a series of murders committed by random New Yorkers who claim that God told them to. We have, I believe, our first God, devil, demon movie of the season, right?
Right? Yeah.
I mean, I know we had the devil all the time,
well,
but that wasn't really like demonic possession-y.
I don't know, man, because that lady got presumably abducted and fucked by light, but also
Classic.
It was coming from a spaceship, so like...
Yeah, it's hard to tell what direction this movie was going in. There was a lot of different things going on.
Yeah.
And some of them landed and some of them did not land. And that was definitely one of them. But we do have a 70s film, you know. I don't think we've had another 70s film in this season yet.
No,
Beyond the Door, was that
Beyond the
70s?
Door.
Yeah, I guess that it does have that kind of like similar demonic 70s, 80s quality about it, which you can always tell a movie from the 70s and 80s because they're playing around with form, they're playing around with colors, they're shot on film, so it has
sideburns
and the styles for sure were coming through. So it is fun sometimes to have these movies that have that certain quality about them,
je ne sais quoi
about them. And yeah, this one has to do with God and the devil. And so if you're sensitive to religious things, maybe skip this one, but also don't turn us off.
Don't turn us off. And maybe go to church, damn it. I'm just kidding. I would never say those words.
Me either. But especially after this movie too.
I just said those words, but I don't mean it.
She said it sarcastically.
Go to church.
Go to church.
Oh, that's an ugly face. Please edit that.
That's what God sounded and looked like. Go to church. Kill people.
Like the picture I took when we went putt mini golfing.
Mm-hmm.
That face was disgusting.
That's what God looks
Two
like.
shiny teeth.
My shiny teeth and me.
My shiny teeth. Shiny teeth.
All right, should we just jump into this thing?
Yeah.
Let's get into the can.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Which I was just kind of lightly touching on. This is a film from the 70s.
Touch.
So it's shot on touch by God. So it's shot on film. Mm-hmm. And there is that, once you see enough movies, you can tell the difference when it's being shot on film and when it's being shot digital. And so the fact that this being shot on film, I mean, the colors pop. Colors are pop. And they were using red especially a lot in this movie. People dressed in red rooms, red carpet, blood, this crazy vibrant red that they have throughout this whole film. And just the colors in general. I mean, there was a lot of greens, a lot of blues, a lot of purples and yellows that were just really, really in our faces. And I always like that. I think that that's a really cool part about shooting on film is it picks up colors differently.
You've definitely mentioned that during season 2, I believe. We had a lot of 1970s film and the usage of the red. I mean, like just the blood that they were using, just I mean, nowadays it looks so fake because everyone has that red color. Like, nah.
It looks like paint.
Yeah, it looks like paint, but it just looks so beautiful being picked up by these cameras. And I truly enjoyed that red room that we were in with the red couch, and it had like this funky kind of like rose pattern on it. Some of the patterns that we were using, because it was the 70s, they were wild and made my eyes kind of like bounce all over the place. Not sure if that was intentional, but yeah, that red room is just beautiful. It reminded me also of Twin Peaks.
Oh, for sure.
When we were in that room, and it's just like overwhelming, and you're just like, ah.
Yes, for sure. The beginning of the movie really felt raw, is how I would describe it. The camera's handheld. We're following on the streets among real people in these big crowds where you feel like you're really there. And it felt almost documentary like, where it felt like we were, just following along behind Peter, the main detective, as he was trying to figure out and unravel this mystery. As the film went on and we got more of these colors coming in, and especially when he's going into these more surreal places with these bright yellows and the purple highlights, the movie moved more into a surrealist kind of place. So I kind of liked how the journey of the cinematography, essentially, where we start off in the gritty, dirty streets of New York, and then by the end, we're moving into this supernatural, hyper reality. And the colors really helped that move along. I don't know if they had a exact intention behind the color choice or a meaning for each of these colors, other than this looks cool, or this looks surreal, or this looks supernatural, otherworldly. But the fact that they were playing with them definitely rang home that this is beyond our reality. That definitely came through in the cinematography and the lighting and the colors of this movie, for sure. When we're talking about movies that are made in the 60s, going into the 70s, and even into the 80s, it's an interesting time for filmmaking, because we're kind of coming out of this more play-like style of shooting, which is much more theatrical, built sets, very much kind of feels like you're at a live play, into an era of being more natural and, like I said, raw kind of filmmaking, where we're on the street, where realism and more natural performances, because we have cameras that are smaller and allow us to pick them up and go out to the street, more guerrilla style filmmaking. So I like movies like this where they're on the streets, and there's those background actors are for sure just real people on the street, because you can see them looking back at the characters, but really they're looking at the cameras, because they're like, what are they doing? Those are real people. We're in real crowds. We're in a real parade. And so you can see them playing around with that, and it that definitely adds to this like grungy, like I said, documentary kind of style of it. It feels more real. It feels much more real. I like watching these 70s movies where, yes, sometimes it doesn't work. Like sometimes there's like shots or framing that just straight up doesn't work. But I appreciate that they're getting out there and just doing it and just trying. Like they're kind of trailblazing for films to come. So they're trying, they're experimenting, and I can appreciate this film for doing that. And I felt them trying to do that. Well, with that being said, should we get to the meat?
Yeah.
Because we are kind of inching around it.
The pulsing meat.
Ugh. Yeah, because we're talking obviously about religion in this movie. And I want to start off the meat again by talking about the time that we are in this movie in the 70s. Coming out of the 60s, going into the 70s, we have a big societal switch as well when we are coming out of a awful war that the country was very split on whether we should even be involved in at all. So I think that too extends to people questioning religion. People are questioning authority in general, and the church being one of those things, being like, if there is a God, how can he allow things like this to happen? How can he allow men to get killed in war, women to be raped,
children to die?
And so the zeitgeist of this time is very much a anti-authority, an anti-religion kind of way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's very important in what this movie is trying to say.
Yeah.
Because we have people that are killing people. I mean, we start with a mass shooting, which is very awful to see.
Yeah.
People just getting sniped on the street, and it rings very close to home. Very awful to see.
Awful.
And then next to them, they say God told them to do it.
God told me to.
And so I think it's a very smart tie that they have going on here, where it's not the devil telling them to do it. It's God telling them to do it. So I actually love that they don't talk about the devil at all in this movie. We're talking about the higher power that we are supposed to surrender ourselves to because they know what's best. But what happens when that being is telling us to do bad things?
The only way the Lord has ever successfully disciplined us has been through fear. Cure a man and you impress a few people who already believe anyway. Kill a multitude and you can convince a nation.
It's a very good just picture of the mindset of the 70s, and people were scared and people were pissed off at the world. And how could God let this happen? We're also talking about a time that serial killers started to become talked about.
The term was coined.
It was coined.
Definitely.
It was obviously happening before this, but people started to recognize, holy shit, people are killing multiple people, first of all, and sometimes for no reason.
I want you to know me. We don't kill people we know, do we, Harold? Only strangers.
Before that, people were like, there has to be a reason. They're crazy, they're angry.
Their childhood. Like,
but
whatever.
We're getting to a point where we have no answers for these questions. And that, I think, is what really scared people. And then they fall back on, what if it was a higher power that told them to do this?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good tie that they have between the feelings at the time, the fears of the time, to a horror movie. I think that was a pretty successful part of this film. And let's get to the cook. Let's see how they actually presented these things.
Absolutely.
Because our main character, I think, is an interesting main character to follow when we're questioning religion, because he's a detective. He's a man of the law. He's quote unquote a man of logic. He's looking at the facts, but we're investigating that is something that is faith-based. So it's that classic question of fact versus faith.
So in every one of these cases, the murderer has insisted that he committed the crime because God told him to do it.
Well, also, I think what motivated him to take on this role of being a defendant of people is his background of not knowing who he truly is.
He put both of the boys through college. They went instead of Peter. You know he was a foster child from the Catholic Children's Home. The Nicholas family took him in when he was only a baby. So Peter felt he owed it to them.
In a way, he wanted to make his existence have a purpose, to defend others. And now that he's learning where he comes from, he discovered his mom, he's absolutely going off the rails because nothing can be quite answered, because his existence is absolutely like bonkers. Like his mom got fucked by light
I can tell more what I felt than what I saw. There was motion in the soft sound of engines. And I seemed to be floating. It was a ball of light all around. I felt it pass through me. And I realized I was going to have a baby and nothing could stop it. I swore to my father in Jesus' name that I never had slept with a man. I never had. I never have.
So then he just was, I think after that was like, all right, I am not human. I'm not a being. I will then use the powers that I have.
In all living things, one set of genes is dominant. In me, all that is human became recessive. And you, my brother, if I may call you that, are the reverse.
If we don't even go beyond the supernatural, like, we all have that power. We all can use ourselves to commit some really awful things, but also commit some really beautiful things for the sake of humanity.
I think that was a great part of it. You know, he was on this journey to discover, like you said, who he was. And then once he did discover that he was kind of this powerful person that can have influence over people, the question became, do you use that for good or for evil? He comes in contact with, was that his brother? Or was that...
We heard the words, we are brothers, and then you can fuck me.
You can fuck my rib vagina.
Okay, we have to talk about
Absolutely.
this.
Why did they put the both of us here? You were not like them. So they tried again. If there are others, they'll be like me. Your children would have been like me. I can bear your child. Together we could start a new species.
What
Rib vagina?
the fuck? Why did we have to go there?
So, visually, where that vagina is somewhat tied to the story and the crucifixion of Christ, because in the Bible, after Jesus gets crucified, they stab him in the rib right there. That's where that is. So I think that's what they were tying it to, but it was a vagina. It was like straight up that juicy pussy that we saw earlier with the mom just on this dude's ribs.
Because we are told that this baby was a paradox, right?
I truly could not tell whether that child was a male or female. It was as if the sexual gender had not yet been determined. It was as if it were being developed.
Nothing. Smooth down there.
Ken.
Barbie.
Don't know. Could be both.
But now he has a fucking vagina on the ribs.
Why are you afraid of me? You can't kill me, can you? Because I'm different too.
So going back to like his journey, I understand that he is, after discovering his place and who he was and the power that he has, the fact that he can literally hypnotize and entice people to do things at his will, bend people to his will. And then he comes in contact with, I think, what's supposed to be like the opposite of him, which is like someone that could bring benevolent people to the world if he fucked his rib vagina. But then he rejects that. He kills his brother and then accepts that he is a murderer and accepts that he is evil because God told him to.
God told me to. God told me to.
But why did it need to be that complicated? Why did it need to be this whole like rib vagina thing and fuck me, I'm your brother thing?
We can make baby. Like, it was so gross.
It felt just gross and strange just for gross and strange sake. And I was able to accept the, like, even the mother's story of her being like pulled up into the light. I thought that was visually cool. Like her being pulled into that spaceship thing and like all the lights and her floating. Like I thought that was actually pretty cool. But then once we started to get to the realm of him meeting his like other half or like the antithesis of him, it just kind of got weird for no reason.
Nice word, by the way.
Thank you. It just got strange because I think they were trying to be strange.
70s.
Yeah. Again, they're experimenting and not successfully in this
But
case.
also, are we now saying that aliens are our gods? Is that what we're saying?
I'm down.
I mean, yeah, we're down.
It was as large as a house.
What?
But it didn't set on the ground, it hovered. Huh? And they raised me up and I floated up into it. They put me in the middle of this light, this warm, glowing light.
And you said it during the film, where we're getting a lot of scenes of people we have never seen before. He's interviewing them, and then we never see again.
The
and
70s loved doing that.
And I understand as a detective, you know, you're going and you're interviewing all these people. You're trying to unravel the story and trying to build the mystery of what's going on. But there was a lot of people that there was a whole scene of him just back to back interviewing people that we never saw again. And to me, I was like, I would rather him interview less people, but make it intentional of like who this person is, rather than him just interviewing a bunch of people back to back and it kind of creating this convoluted and winding path that he has to go down, just because I don't think it needs to be that complicated.
No.
In the end, when we get the reveal of what actually is happening, it isn't that complicated. So them just throwing these like other characters in there just felt like they were trying to put them in there to make us feel confused.
You know, I knew he'd get my Harold into trouble. I mean, anybody who would walk barefooted around the streets of New York City had to have something wrong with him. Yeah.
Tony LoBianca, who plays Detective Peter, actually was pretty good. Like, I thought of everyone, he was like one of the most natural actors.
He's also pretty consistent.
And he was consistent, and he is a pretty recognizable actor. And so having him as our leading man, I thought actually was pretty good.
Yeah, he looks like a detective too. Like he fits the role.
Yes. And everyone around him, I mean, there were some sketchy performances going on around him, but he himself, I think, was a very solid guy to put the lead role in.
Somebody's trying to terrorize the people in this city, and they're going to do it in a big way.
And that's what you want from your main character. Mm-hmm. You don't want just a handsome person. I mean, those people definitely do fill the seats. But you want somebody who can carry the movie, and he definitely did. Mm-hmm. Because we're watching him every scene. He's like, he doesn't go away. Nope. He has such a strong presence, a good enough actor. You believe him. He's consistent. And yeah, like, so there were a few moments in where I lost interest just because I think I'm just not used to films taking this amount of time to get through information. But that's on me, I want to say.
I don't know.
Society. I blame my phone.
Fucking phone.
Fuck you. Phone.
I don't know. I do think there was some slow moments in this movie too, of just like, okay, let's get to it. And that's what I'm saying is like some of the people he was visiting and getting information from, I don't know if we needed that. I understand that they were probably trying to fill runtime and they were trying to add to this mystery.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt like there was maybe some unnecessary characters in there. We could have tightened up the script, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
I do think everything was driving towards their point, which is great. But there were some slow moments of like, who the fuck is this person that we're never going to see again?
And also, why are we here? Why are we here with Casey in this courtroom?
His father was a motorman on the BMT. He, developed Parkinson's disease or something. So Peter became the sole support of his 2 brothers and 2 sisters.
Any history of nervous disorders? Does he sleep well at night?
Why don't you ask his wife?
He hasn't spent a night with her in the past 4 years. He admits that.
They also knew that he hadn't slept with his wife for 4 years. So you're telling me that you didn't know that he was adopted, but you knew that he wasn't sleeping with his wife for the last 4 years?
They knew. It was all for us. That scene was so clearly just an expository dump on us.
We could have revealed it in any other way. Why spend thousands of dollars to make the scene that we could have just gotten that he was adopted in like a fucking sentence?
Yeah. There's also the whole like mistress/wife storyline that they're just kind of there. They're only part of his backstory. They don't move the story along at all. They're only there to inform us about his character.
They're women.
Right. They're just kind of props for him and for us to understand, oh, he's, not necessarily 100% a good guy.
Odd, isn't it? The 2 people you love the most.
Makes saying goodbye easier. See, he's going away. That's so, isn't it, Peter?
All my life I felt so close to God. And it wasn't him after all.
But then those characters don't go anywhere.
No,
we don't use those characters to advance the story at all.
Because we're in the 70s. We heard this over and over again throughout the film. Virginity.
Oh yeah.
The woman was a virgin.
No.
And we are only here to provide, to bear children and to be there for the man. So that's all they were. They were all just, like you said, props for him.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because I do see what they were trying to go for, but
it wasn't executed well.
No, I didn't think so.
No.
Well, let's get to the thrill.
Yeah.
The scary parts of this, which we kind of have already talked about, is, what if God was telling us to do
one of us?
What if God was one of us and he was telling us to do bad things? Awful things. And when you have this benevolent creature, this benevolent authority who we have built up as an all-knowing thing, telling you to do and commit sins, that's scary. Because what is the motivation behind that? And then, if that being does exist, is it all good? Is that the kind of God that we want?
Right? What separates God from the devil at that point? If both of them are telling me to commit murder, so-called.
When the devil says it, it's a bad thing. But when
God says
it
righteous?
it must be some part of some sort of plan.
I mean, he's given us everything and asks for so little. How could I refuse him? Huh? How could I? I mean, he wouldn't ask me to do anything that wasn't right. In the Bible, God asked Abraham to kill his son, Isaac. Sacrifices to your God are nothing new. Why are you looking at me as though I were the first?
This movie plays with, where is the line? Where is the line of sin and a righteous act? The line in real life feels like it's been moved, constantly changing, bent to our will. We can send guys off to war and kill a bunch of people because it's the right thing to do. So again, we're going back to kind of this reflection of the time and reflection of how people are feeling towards government, towards religion. Because I think there is this realization that it's very Hippocratic. It's very much, oh, murder's bad, but there's that but of like, but we're protecting ourselves, so we got to go and destroy communism in Vietnam. Oh, but these other people don't have the same religious view, so we can go on crusades and kill a bunch of people who don't share a Christian view. So
this country has liquid gold.
Exactly.
So we got to go and get it.
Mm-hmm.
God told me to. God told me to.
So yeah, the idea of this movie was playing with was scary. And we saw some pretty fucked up things. The mass shooter at the beginning was pretty fucked up, and the guy shooting in a parade was really, really scary.
Because we've seen that. It's been happening more and more, and it's just, there's no words to describe how horrible those things are.
It hits home.
They just,
hits home.
I can't.
And then that combined with how they're shooting it too, of this kind of very like on the street style, you feel like you're there, and it makes it feel more real. So I thought that actually was pretty successful. Now, do we have a bunch of like pop out things where we're really, on edge? No. But I think these ideas that we're, playing with are scary. They're scary.
If we've mentioned it before, just like the psychology of of just people murdering people is beyond scary. More than a fucking ghost.
Yeah. They're people. We walk next to.
We're so complex.
We're so complex. Let's get to the ride.
Let's do it.
The final ride.
Beep, beep.
This movie is kind of functioning as a mystery. We're trying to unravel this mystery. So I do, in that way, feel that it was successful in keeping us engaged of like, okay, what's the twist that we're getting to? And then they do deliver a twist, which I thought was pretty good. I actually was not expecting him to be the one who was kind of responsible for all these things. He had this power to influence people.
Some other force wanted me born, wanted me to be carried by you, wanted me to live half my life before knowing what I was.
Why think I'm me? Why me?
Don't you see? What happened to you is over after I was born. What's happening to me is just beginning.
But like we said before, it felt like there were some things that they threw in there that were a little too convoluted. It kind of muddled down the rest of the story where we were sitting there asking ourselves, who is this and why are we here?
Yeah.
We can get to it easier.
We really jumped here, did we? Yeah. I knew that he had something to do with something, but I didn't think that he was going to be the one that was influencing people, like you said. Because all that just doesn't make sense to me.
Me either.
Because I don't understand.
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How?
Was he pissed off and then that translated to him accidentally influencing people?
Like, was he getting closer to figuring out who he was, and that's how he was able to like transcend and like get people to start murdering? Like, it just like you said, it's convoluted. It just like it doesn't quite make sense.
No, it doesn't. And I don't know why, if he was getting closer to the truth of who he was, why that would then translate to him entrancing people to kill people. Like, I just don't really get that tie. I don't understand it. And I just think they didn't even try to explain it, honestly.
No.
It was just like, this is how it is. He just did that.
Oh, wow.
Accept it. Accept me. There is a line, actually.
Accept me, no questions.
That was a line that the vagina-ribbed guy said. And it's that does go back to the idea of this movie. I am God. I'm telling you to do something. Do it. But in this case, the movie is trying to make us accept story points that we just can't accept.
God told me to.
God told me to.
Yes.
1976. Let's get to these Smash Pumpkins.
I don't know.
It's a tough one. Because there are elements of this movie that I do like. And I appreciate them experimenting a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also elements of this movie that do not work for me and feel a little too complicated and feel like, okay. I think I'm erring on the side of...
I think I have a number.
You have a number?
I think so.
Go for it. I'm still thinking it through.
I've been giving this Smash Pumpkins quite often this season, but 2.5.
Right in the middle. Right in the middle.
Yeah. I just can't really justify a lot of its convolutedness. I appreciate that it's one of the best 70s films that we've watched this season, but yeah, no, because like Behind the Door, I think I gave it like a fucking 1 or something like that. It it was consumable, and the acting for what it was pretty good. The script needed work.
Yeah.
Some of the shots or scenes could have absolutely just not been done. And I don't know why. I don't know how we got there. I don't know how. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it quite worked for me.
I think I will also give it a 2.5 because you're right. Like there were a lot of things that worked, a lot of things that didn't. And I'm mostly giving it, I was thinking 2, but I'm mostly giving it that extra 0.5 because...
You're copying me.
Because I'm copying you, and I love copying you.
You do.
I appreciate them trying new things.
Mm-hmm.
I hold that as far as filmmaking goes. As someone who's been involved in making films, I appreciate you trying.
And being in a film.
I appreciate you trying something that has not been done. I hold that in a very high regard because that's a scary thing to do too, because it might not work. And some of these things didn't work, but at least you're getting out there and you're trying it. Because like we said, there's movies after the 70s, after this was made, that I think because this movie was made, allowed them to do what they did successfully. So I hold that in a pretty high regard. But yeah, it wasn't scary, really. I mean, it wasn't scary. I liked the ideas that they were talking about. I liked the meat of it. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed Tony LoBianca's performance.
Great. He became cuter and cuter every time that he came out.
We started liking him more and more, and then he chose not to fuck the rib vagina. And I was like, what the hell, man? We're not going to see that?
We're not going to see that.
It might have gone up to a 3 if we actually saw that scene.
I mean, I gave it a 0.5 more because like the criteria of the 70s is to have a naked woman, and then we saw a prosthetic vagina, and I was like, that's good enough for me.
We got it.
Check.
Got that vagina.
Disgusting.
Thank you.
It was pulsing.
Yeah.
God. And it looked so fake, which good. Yeah.
I was okay with that.
Yeah. But also,
whoa.
Why 70s? Why?
We were really going into that vagina.
Yeah, we were like, woo, 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 woo.
If it was like the 40X experience,
we would have
water.
We would have gotten wet.
I got slimed.
Okay.
All
Jeez.
right. God told me to.
That's how we're gonna end this.
That's how we're ending it. I wish there was a 40X experience of God told me to. Let's see what we're getting for next week, huh?
You would have gotten stabbed. You would have gotten sniped.
Yeah, it would have been a lot.
Yeah. All right.
I believe it's
I
me.
want an alien, man. I want aliens.
You want an alien, man.
I want aliens, man.
I'm going to try to pull it for you.
Please do.
I'm going to try to. I'm going to really get in deep here. Ooh.
Oh.
This one feels... God told me to.
The Deadlights told me to.
All right.
Oh, God.
I am not looking at... Okay. Ooh. Ooh. From 2023.
Ooh. Oh.
James and M. Foster are enjoying an all-inclusive beach vacation in the fictional island of La Toca when a fatal accident exposes the resort's perverse subculture of hedonistic tourism, reckless violence, and surreal horrors.
This one. Infinity Pool.
Infinity Pool.
I just watched it, and I'm so excited to watch it with you because you haven't.
I have not seen this.
This is so good.
And we will also have Nate here, too, to enjoy it with us.
Oh, yeah, that's so true.
So tune back in for that. Very cool. Skarsgård.
Skarsgård.
And Goth.
And Mia Goth.
She's back again.
She's back at it again, and she's in hot water right now.
Ooh.
She's in hot infinity pool water.
Ooh, hot pools. Cool. Infinity pools, I'm down.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited. Oh, that's going to be great.
Yes.
Well,
folks,
we have a freaking phone number. You can freaking call us.
Freaking call us.
Yeah.
At
773-669-6677. And in the meantime, if you want to follow me on Instagram at Color Me Leslie.
You can also follow me at Beep Beep Richie T. You can follow us at the Deadlights Pod on Instagram as well. But until next time,
let's get spooky. Ooh,
God told me to.
He told me to sing.